With it. And so when we started doing that, it sold more than the actual cleaner itself, like the accessories. And so now we're in this process of trying to brand other things that are adjacent or make sense to build the brand up.
That makes a lot of sense.
Gotcha. And we got it into Lowe's, which was great. And we've just been riding that for like a year now.
3, you gotta clap though, because our hands are full.
Okay, I'll clap.
3, 2, 1, action. Can I do it backwards? Too late.
You're gonna be an edit now.
No, I'm gonna keep that part.
Okay.
What up, everybody? My name is Justin Ortiz, and this is
Fender.
And we are with
Stephen Mitchell.
Thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah.
We definitely appreciate it. Tell them a little bit about the podcast real quick.
So it's keeping it local, and we are also local to Charlotte. We are also loco, and we are here with a good friend of ours who is a local business owner. So you get it, right? So we're local to Charlotte, we're loco, and we're local business owner. That's what we're doing.
I'm not sure why she's pointing at me for the loco part. She's definitely
the loco of the loco.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
So the reason that we're doing this today is because we were inspired. I was actually on Stephen's podcast, and
yes, coming soon.
And we really connected, and you have the entrepreneur spirit. And so we just like to learn more and tell our audience all about you.
Okay. Well, for better or for worse, I like entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So
it is hard work. I don't think people realize it.
Is this a therapy session or is this a celebration?
Let's make it a therapy session.
Right. No, I agree with you. I don't think people realize, like when we say shop local or support local businesses, I don't think they realize that we don't have PTO. I don't even know what I mean.
Right.
Right? So You're sick, you're not making money, and we really need our community to support our local business owners.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great thing for all business owners. And my situation is a little bit different, right? Because I work a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I'm an entrepreneur on the side, but I do that so my family doesn't have to suffer as much, because there is suffering that comes with entrepreneurship. There's no doubt about it. And I just hate the fact that I feel like people don't know that all the time, or people don't realize that, because entrepreneurship, especially through the pandemic, and it just looks so glorious. Like, quit your job, make your dreams come true, woo, woo, woo. And it's like, but.
Yeah, they don't see the lowlights. They don't see the lowlights. I've been full-time in entrepreneurship since 2012, I want to say.
Wow. And
so, but you say wow, but it's the constant up and down. You know, year after year, you know, maybe after 4 years, your ups and downs are higher than your ups and downs were those prior years.
True.
And maybe 5 years from now, my ups and downs will be much higher than what I am today.
Right.
So I kind of got to look at it like that. But I like the fact that you have a job as well.
Yeah.
You know, because that's important. Because when those down points come, it's like, what do you do in those situations?
Absolutely. And, you know, I love what you said there, because it's ups and downs nonetheless. Like, even though, like I tell people, like, people are like, oh, you know, you got some product in Lowe's, and, you know, things are going good for you. And I'm like, yeah.
And you are renting Porsche Panameras, which we'll get to, but just for the record.
Yes, and renting cars, especially fancy cars or foreign cars that look fancy and kind of give this persona of luxury and things that you want to sort of attest to. Yeah. Or attain. I don't know if attest to is the right word.
But what you're trying to say, though, is literally people assume that you've gotten to a certain point in life to where you've gotten there. You made it, right?
Like problems don't exist anymore.
Right, exactly.
Like you're exempt
and that's
from problems.
So not true.
No. So far from the truth.
The crazy part too is being an entrepreneur, and by the way, he doesn't just have one business; he's got multiple business lines, because unfortunately, being an entrepreneur, you have to have multiple streams. And if you don't know what we're talking about, that's income, right?
Let's talk about those streams. Have them talk about those streams.
I think we should.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so
loco.
What are my streams? So I've got the job, and I try to help people. One of my goals or missions, and Justin's going to help me with this, is to help part-time entrepreneurs generate full-time revenue. Yeah. That was my tagline to, like, okay, you can have a job and be a part-time entrepreneur technically, and you can generate as much money or more from your entrepreneurial activities as you do on your 9-to-5 job.
Mm-hmm.
So
are you saying, because with some things I've heard, are you saying something like the fact that you set up a lot of automation to the business itself so that whenever people can buy the products or do stuff even when you're sleeping?
yes, that is definitely a part of that's a part of the other stream, but I'm just saying that first stream is the job.
Oh.
Like, and let's not
Full-time
job. And it's hard because I have to still perform there, but that is a stream of income.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it I think, and people sometimes ask me like, well, when is the right time to try to do something on the side?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you know you're good at your job.
Yeah.
Like when you can do your job with one hand tied. Yeah. If you can do your job and get, performance reviews where you're doing good and you know that you're killing it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always happen day one, but that's a super important stream of income for me. And I'm not ashamed of it. Like, I'm proud to have a job. And it's a job that gives me flexibility, right? It gives me some flexibility to kind of control my own schedule. I'm at the doctor right now. And so I'm able to,
helping support the business.
Yes, I'm helping, it gives me a chance to kind of move around a bit, but that's the number one stream of income.
Yeah.
Second stream is a product-based business, which came from my business of consulting.
Okay.
Right. So we've got our product Diamond Shine Cleaner. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it at Lowe's.com. You can find it in Lowe's stores, or you can find it on the DiamondShineCleaner.com website, which we'd love for you to get it from there too. And that's cleaning products and accessories that allow you to clean more effectively and efficiently.
Okay.
That's another stream of income. To your point, there's several people involved in that. Got business partners, got helpers, got assistants, got people that we pay to make that thing run. We didn't start like that.
Right.
But we've gotten there over the past, maybe 2018 is when that really kicked off.
Okay.
And then we really didn't make any money till 2019.
Okay.
Probably started with 30 grand or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then just in the last year, we got into Lowe's, which skyrocketed the revenue through the roof. So 90% of our revenue is because we were able to hook up with a big Lowe's organization.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, and so the reason that you have all these people to help you is so that you can have that full-time job. So it kind of keeps that foundation for you, right?
Absolutely. And people ask me like, well, when is the right time to quit your job? Like, I could quit and work a job, but I didn't want to just like quit a job to go pay myself to start another job.
Right.
So I think the goal for me has always been to be like the owner. And so me having a job, there's several benefits to that. I learn stuff, get exposed to stuff, but it also, I'm trying to learn, which I'm not very good at, is how to get work done through others.
Yeah.
Delegation.
Well, and with that, we were just talking off camera too about leadership. Like, by the way, I'm a very strong personality in case nobody notices that. But with that said, like, they say, okay, if you're going to hire somebody, right? You're going to hire somebody, you got to give them so many weeks of training. You got to put so much time in. You got to know that you're going to put the time in.
Yeah.
And I have had a team. I currently don't have a team because I chose to do everything with me because I struggle with patience. If I hire someone, and this is just crazy, and I know this isn't how the world is, but when I write a check, I kind of expect that person to have the expertise to do those things. And I should just, use your common sense, use your logic, lose your skills, and just go with it, right?
Yeah.
But in some cases, they want, a lot of people seem to want to be handheld. Yeah. Where you have to give them constant calendar. It's like calendars, like, do this today, do this today, do this today. If I'm telling you to do it, it's easier for me just to do it. And that's a struggle for me being an entrepreneur, because that money that I'm paying them is money that I'm actually generating. Nobody else is generating that money. Yep. And I think for you, when you're talking about this, if you're hiring, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, so I'll give you kind of a coaching piece of this.
Coach us.
Coach, yeah. Is technically when you hire somebody, you're supposed to hire someone better than you. And you're supposed to hire someone who can actually bring in their income based on the way you're hiring them.
Yeah.
And that is a big mistake.
I needed that advice.
Yeah.
3 months ago.
But it's crazy because that person is you can say, hey, and by the way, I'm all about incentivizing because I think that's a huge piece. But even if you're doing the office manager and you're saying, hey, this is how much money. But if you bring in 2 or 3 clients that you know from past business or whatever, we'll bonus you for the first 90 days on just bringing that person in because now you're compensating their income, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of entrepreneurs screw up because they just want someone to be very task oriented and they hire the cheapest person possible just to do a task. And then when they're not thinking or producing or improving, I struggle with that because I'm like, okay, like I'm tired of feeding everybody. Right? I'll give money if I need to second harvest or things like that to feed people, but literally I'm taking money out of my pocket just to have people have a job, and that's a hard one for me.
Yeah, and that's what the experience has been like.
Yeah.
Because I've had like assistants and virtual assistants part-time, but like really in February of this year is when, I don't know how many years it's been, 2018 to 2024 is what, 6 years? Yeah. So now I'm in year 6 and I'm just now like hiring someone full-time. And
it's a struggle.
I didn't know all that
struggle because you're a full-time employee
and I'm a full-time
right?
employee, so I wasn't able to give them the training that they needed. You don't know how poor of a leader you are until you've got people that need you to lead them, and you're away, and you're like, oh my gosh, I probably should have gave some instructions. I probably need to be thinking a week or two ahead.
Right.
I probably am sabotaging them by not training them.
And don't they text say, so what am I supposed to do? Because I always get those texts.
Yep.
Pam, I have an extra 5 hours that I need to do this week. And I'm like, just post on social media.
Yeah, just find something to do that's valuable, right?
Right, yeah.
And so that's but anyway, that I think it's important what you said about the stream of income. But even though that's a stream, I just started paying myself for that this year. I mean, it's paid me throughout the years here and there, but like this year specifically, because of the way I'm set up, talking to the accountant, I have to pay myself something.
Yeah.
But we're in August now, so 8 months of this year, I didn't pay myself anything. I was paying all these other people because I had to, I thought, because I need them to do certain stuff, and they do good, but there's obviously opportunity for where we want to go.
Growth, right?
Growth, where we want to go, but I'm definitely many times watching them reap the spoils of this. And I'm like, man, we're doing all this work. We're bringing in, 6-7 figures, and
everybody else, and you're splitting it. You got partners without, but you really don't
for
really.
For 8 months of it, I've gotten zero of it.
Right.
Like,
right.
And it feels backwards. It feels like, what the heck am I doing? Do I even need all these people? Why don't I just do it myself?
And what's crazy is you're saying that, but when I noticed it for myself, by the way, the people that I brought in were, by the way, they're still good friends and stuff like that. But I felt like I always had to overproduce. Like I'm like everybody's like, oh, Pam works 80 hours. When I started working for myself without anybody, I'm down to 60, right? And I know that you're like, well, that's crazy. But no, like I can actually go to the gym now. Yeah. I actually play pickleball. Yeah. When I was working full time and I had a team of people, it was constant because you're working with their problems too, right?
Right.
It's not just your problems, you're dealing with their problems. So let's talk about your studio, because I have this vision that you don't even know about.
Studio yet. Wait.
Come on, we don't want to talk about the studio because the studio is his job.
Because I think the biggest piece that people are going to want to know is how you got into Lowe's. Because people have so many products out there, they want to know how you got into Lowe's. Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, that's valid.
I think that's going to be
valuable. I love when you take over.
I'm sorry, that's the local part. Rub it off, you know what I mean?
So, I hate when people give too much fluff, so you guys draw it out of me if I'm too fluffy, but I'll give you the quick version first.
Okay.
I used to work at Lowe's.
Okay.
So that means I met people, knew people, got experiences. When I left Lowe's, one of my personal dreams was I wanted to sell stuff back into Lowe's, because where I worked at was at the corporate office. So I started to see, okay, how do these products get on the shelf?
Right.
And they get on the shelf from suppliers.
Right.
People. And some of those suppliers are huge, like, what's a huge company? You can think of Procter & Gamble.
Right.
Who, if people don't know, they're like on the
toothpaste.
Dove, I don't know if it's Crest or Colgate. Dove soap, Tide.
Yeah. Right.
So they
bought tons of products, and then they're a conglomerate.
Right. Yeah. And they've been around for decades, hundreds of years. But you also have small people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I learned that
just like that little smiley sponge I heard about.
Yeah, the Sponge Daddy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he ended up going on Shark Tank but everybody doesn't. He went on Shark Tank, and I think he got exposed to some people at Lowe's. But even like, who's the girl from Shark Tank? Lori.
Oh yeah, Lori, yeah.
So one of my bosses when I worked there, Lori used to always contact him to try to bring people on. So I'm like, oh, I started to realize how it worked. Like the position I was in,
you were able to see the process.
Yeah, was actually the decision maker. So typically in all of these retail stores, you either have somebody that's a buyer or a merchant, or that's typically the things they call them, buyers or merchants. So if you're dealing with a grocery store, there's typically a buyer that's going to put your barbecue sauce on the shelf. So you got to figure out who that buyer is, or you got to figure out who can get you to that buyer.
Okay.
Right. And they now, if you do enough research, a lot of these companies, Lowe's especially, they'll have like vendor days or supplier days. Walmart does a thing every year. You just got to do enough research, and they'll do a annual thing where, hey, we want to buy American products, come. And it's a lot of work. And this is the part where people kind of, I think, falter, because once you get the buyer's name and all that, you have to show that you're ready to work with them.
Right, you got to have the products there, right? You got to have the warehouses, you got to have the access, the inventory.
You got to think about all of that. You got to think about how this is going to look on their shelf. Why do they need it? What gap is it going to fill? You know, why is it important? What price point does it need to be at? You know, if they had to take something off of their shelf, what would they take off to put you there?
Right.
And so a lot of us don't think far enough. We don't see it from the buyer's eyes. Because the buyer is like, I would say they're managing a mini store. So in any retail store or grocery store or Target, you have to look at each one of those aisles as like a mini store. Like, so there's a store owner of that aisle of makeup. Right? There's a buyer and another buyer and another buyer that owns that. And so you need to think, if you've got makeup, why would this person, you know, put me on there in their space? And what is it going to, how's it going to benefit them? What price and all that? Because if you don't think like that, and if you're not thinking about the inventory and a litany of other things, you're just not really prepared, and they will crush you. Like, and not on purpose, but these are billion-dollar companies.
There's an expectation that you're not seeing, because they just assume that if you have a product, you've already done the research, right?
Right, exactly.
Get to that point, and you're already meeting with them. You gotta know.
Yeah, and
so you know, it's interesting with what you just said, because we're definitely going to talk off camera, because I'm seeing something here. But they always say, when you're going to buy a business, let's just say that you lost your job, you're unemployed, and you're like, I want to work for myself. They always say, find a solution to a problem that there is not a solution for, right? So to your point, you had a product that you saw, hey, it created a fix to a problem, right? And then, as we were talking, you said, hey, that product was great, but when you put it on Lowe's, you know, I'm going to say their shelves, what did you say? You said that you guys found out that some of the, the attachments? Yeah,
the attachments were stronger than the actual product that we were trying to solve for. And
what does that mean?
So that means that we had a cleaning product. And really, how it really started, we didn't go into stores immediately. We got onto Lowe's.com.
Right.
So, which was, you would think, a disappointment, but we were smart enough to be like, no, this is still an opportunity to get in the door, learn their systems, to learn all that stuff. And so
I think anytime there's an opportunity, you have a way to learn from it.
Yeah, because people don't want to take those small steps. You might say, oh, no, I want to be in the store. Because, I mean, being online was minuscule. It wasn't like... But it was still maybe $20, $30 a day coming in. And so, but again, it wasn't about the money. It was all about, oh, this is what it takes to put your product, to get it to show up on their site. The pictures have to be a certain, what do you call it, DPI? Or
the pixels and stuff like that.
Pixels got to be a certain way. It's got to be like this. The video has to be formatted a certain way. You're like, oh, okay. This is a lot more than what I imagined. But anyway, past all of that, we were online first. And then when we were online, we noticed, and this was because we were also on Amazon, we saw competitors of cleaning products bundling their cleaner with cleaning attachments.
Almost like, and I've even seen like a cloth or something. Like
cloth, microfiber towels. But ours was drill brushes. So if you go to, there's another company that does this really well, drillbrushes.com. And this is another encouraging thing for people. You don't have to be first. You just have to be you just have to be in the right position. Because how it happened for us was really, what do they call serendipity. It was like, okay, we had our product up there online.
Yeah.
And so we saw it was working on Amazon, and we put these drill brushes along with our cleaning product, right? And so that, because we did that, that started to do well. Well, then someone at Lowe's noticed us online, and they said, we need those attachments in store. They didn't care about the cleaner.
Right.
They cared more about these attachments that you can put on your drill.
Yeah.
And has all, you can clean carpets, detailers use them, all this sort of stuff. And they're like, why do we not have these in store?
Right.
You know, it was just like a gap for them.
Right.
And so that's what created the opportunity. And before we know it, they did a test with like, 100 stores or so. And then that went well enough, and it's just been growing from there. So it didn't, and entrepreneurs say this a lot, we didn't plan all this out.
Yeah. Right.
Like we just did a few things.
How do you? Because if you're not successful at the first step, how do you know about the second and third? Like you have this vision, but the vision can't get there until you start stepping, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is like, just if you've got a product, think about if you can get this on their .com, and then just think about other things around it that they may be missing.
Right.
Because you'd be surprised. There's stuff Target doesn't sell. There's stuff that Lowe's, Home Depot, grocery stores are missing out on that people would buy.
Right.
And it's just getting a pulse on what that is. It could be like, or even like a Best Buy. I don't know how you get in Best Buy, but for someone like you who knows video and knows stuff, there may be stuff that I can really find this on Amazon, but when I go to Best Buy, they don't have it.
Yeah.
I'm not even shopping Best Buy anymore because
I
just get it from Amazon. Well, Best Buy doesn't like that. They'd like to be
the only
supplying you the things that videographers and people need.
They'd rather you come into Best Buy and get their stuff on .com before Amazon and everything else. So
exactly. But who's going to inform them?
Yep.
Who's going to inform them of that? Who's going to say, hey, Best Buy, you should have this.
Right.
You should have it on your site. And then maybe, they don't recognize it, but a couple of years down the road, like, oh, everyone likes this new thing that videographers, maybe you were the first one that noticed it on Amazon. It's that type of thinking that I think has worked for us there.
Well, what's interesting is with what you just said, my friend from PGA, who is no longer in Charlotte, he's the one that starts all the stores. And me and him are standing there. And he asked me a couple questions. He said, hey, Pam, what do you think about this product? What do you think about this product? And I kind of gave him my opinion. And I said to him, why are you asking me that question? He goes, because I'm the person they ask to bring in local vendors for certain items. And he said, he goes, this is why this item's here. This is why this item's here. This is why this one's not. And I thought, very interesting. So a lot of times the guy who's like managing, it's not the manager, it's the guy who's putting the stores together. And they say, hey, we want you to find some of the local, products, local people. And that's how so it's funny because he took my advice and he used it for that store. But that seems how he does it. He would just kind of ask people, get a pulse, to your point, if that was a good product to have in store.
And that's a great point too, because you don't always have to find the corporate person.
Right.
A lot of times the corporate person's talking to a local person, like a regional guy who sets up stores, like you said, or they're in some cases a store manager might know a district manager or something that really works in your market. Like for instance, there are certain things that if you're up in New York and you've got super cold winters and there's some sort of, when everything breaks down, you need a certain heater or a certain like a person may not know at the corporate level in the ivory tower that's super important, right? And so just being able to, like you said, have a pulse and stuff can help your product.
What's interesting is when we did our podcast, we talked about AI. And a lot of AI now is telling people how to limit inventory to what the people in that area want based on the seasons and stuff. So if you are using a little bit of AI can help you with creating those products that service those communities.
Absolutely.
And when we're talking about it. So, it's funny. What do you feel like was your vision? I feel, and we've talked about this a little bit, Justin, you can jump in here, but your vision, what do you feel like your vision is? Because you told me that you've got 3 different things out there, your different levels, you're still working your full-time job.
Yep.
Is there a point in your life that you say, I'm going to quit my full-time job and do this? Or is that scary?
I think it is scary, but I think that the one is if I'm not doing a good job, then I'll probably get fired. But I think if I voluntarily let go, this thing, I've got a number in mind of like retirement.
You have that vision on that number?
Yeah, like a number for retirement, and like, okay, I know at this point my family won't have to suffer from the
right.
What do you call this?
The roller coaster.
The roller coaster, right? The
We
roller
definitely call it
coaster
the roller
ride,
coaster, yeah.
you know, which is fun and you learn a lot from it too. But it personally, you know, I've been, I think, struggling a bit because it is so difficult and it is so taxing. This has probably been one of the hardest years of trying to juggle everything. And so I think my vision is, yeah, maybe eventually I'll retire, whether I'm, you know, at normal retirement age or sometime sooner. But my vision on how this started was, it was a consulting project, right? I started trying to consult someone on how they could get their thing into Lowe's or into, and it turned into something totally different because they didn't want to do everything we said, and we understood why. They'd already revamped their brand and they're like, I'm not about to reinvest.
Right.
So, but I think it was just like a God thing where it's like, okay, this is now your opportunity to, you got to make the investment. You got to put your money's on the line and your savings on the line, which I've had to do multiple times, is empty out every savings account.
So do you feel like you're a brainchild of things and that's why the consulting business is more your passion?
Yeah. I'm definitely more like, let's do this again for somebody else.
Right.
Let's apply, what can we take this and how can we apply it to real estate or how can we apply it to video? So that's why I want to
know the process.
These processes of just like, you know, thinking outside of the box a little bit, and figuring out where the gaps are, like all that stuff applies across industries.
Yeah.
And I would love to, and that's why I'm so passionate about how can we get the consultant thing going again. Again, this is just taking on a life of its own. But I think if that could lay a foundation for one, meet more people, and it's challenging and it's stretching too, because one thing about your job, sometimes it can get, once you've really been doing it a decade or so, it can get a little dull. It can be like, okay, I can do this with my eyes closed, sort of thing.
After a month of me working, I was like, oh, this is dull.
Well, it's funny because, you know, I've been in real estate for 10 years and, you know, talking about, people are like, hey, Pam, why don't you come work for our company, or we'd love to hire you. And I said, you know, I can appreciate that, but that's going to stretch me. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not sure I can work for someone else. I don't take direction very well. Because if your direction's wrong, but you think it's right, and I'm telling you it's wrong, I'm not going to do it. Like, by the way, we just had this whole entire discussion on Euchre because this guy just wanted to win, but he wanted us to take a loss to win. And I said, I'm not losing to win. He's like, no, just call on anything. I'm like, no, I'm not calling on anything. I don't play to lose. I play to win. He's like, but it's a strategy. I'm like, I don't care what your strategy is. So to that point, I don't think I'm manageable. So as we're talking here, I feel like you are a visionary when it comes down to your business. And what I've seen you just in a couple of times, your passion seems to really be about helping people. And that office that you have, how cool would it be to bring people in there, do a part of the consulting, help them where they can pull their business because you've been there, right?
Yes.
And then you got that studio back there for the podcast where people could do their videos for what their products are, the things that they're doing.
Yes.
Especially with the help of Justin, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we want to do. Honestly, that podcast room that we've built, which we love people to come and, you know, hopefully we have some information available for you soon to book it, rent it, or we find, you know, a select group of people, people that have, I don't know, realtor type activities or, you know, and they can come in and use it. And that is...
We had just talked about that, actually.
That's potentially another stream.
Right.
Right now I'm investing in that because I
could book it for you, don't worry. I can book the whole
You can get it booked?
I can get it booked for you.
Awesome. That's done. We
but
can
to
check
your
that
point,
off the list.
you literally sit down, you consult with them with their business. You say, hey, let's get you on a podcast, right? We'll book 4 or 5 different podcasts there that day. They go, they slot it out. This is how much it costs you. Here's your package. And for small business owners, we can't afford to have office managers, personal assistants, like 5 different people. We can't afford that. What we can afford is a package of video time, consulting time, things like that. We can say, hey, okay, $1,000 all in. We get 4 hours of our time, you know, a half hour of video time, whatever it is. And we can afford that because that's what's in our books, right? But long term, when it comes down to money every month coming out, that's where it hurts. I mean, if you're talking about staff, by the way, I don't know if you guys all know this, for us, the minimum staff is $15 to $20 an hour to get someone that's pretty decent doing stuff.
Yeah.
And you do that by, 52 weeks, like that's pretty much money out of our pockets and out of our growth profits.
That's 30 to 40,000.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah, and then you have more than one, right? So I think sharecropping services is huge. We talked about that. Some of our software and stuff we're doing, like kind of co-opt that and do that to where literally we start cutting back expenses.
And I'd love that because that's where I'm at. I've again taken a risk because I'm very good at starting things and taking the risk. And I see a vision of, okay, this podcast room can be used and it can be a great benefit. I also love partnering to make an next step because you talk about streams of income. Right now, that's not a stream of income. That is what is the opposite of income? That's a stream of
negative
expense.
income, right? Negative income,
right? A stream of expense, just pulling out of the stream.
And to your point, it's like you're already working a full-time job. You don't really have the time to manage that.
I don't.
So you really need a partner in here to be the operations managers. It's like, okay, we're booking this. We need this booked 40 hours a week. This is how much money needs to come in. And good, right?
And good. And then at that point, it becomes another stream.
Right. And then you're not worried about all those people sitting there because they're already being paid for by other people.
That's exactly what I'd like to see happen. Yeah. And that's what we need to.
And that's why I was telling you I have a vision. Because when I was in there, I was like, oh, I
got
this.
You need people that you have enough experience to where you could put that together really quickly. And people that are just out of school, they've got vision and stuff too, but sometimes
they need mentors, they need leaders.
Some training on, okay, how do you pick up the ball and just carry it without direction and get it over the goal line? And so, I look forward to us working together on that.
We're definitely going to have to do that. But this is why we're doing this. This is why we're having these podcasts. This is why we're doing it. Support, first of all, local business owners. So we'll make sure all your stuff is on our website and stuff like that. And at the same time, before you start going to certain places that there's these big companies that have all this different stuff, make sure that you're talking about local business owners, networking, connecting, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect people with the right resources to really help small business owners really to be, the best what they can be. Because I think in Charlotte we struggle.
Yeah.
Because there's too many transient people.
No one's from here, so it's like, how am I ever going to meet anybody?
Fresh.
Yeah.
Everybody's starting fresh.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of success in all your businesses. Obviously, we talked about the ups and downs, but what do you credit for your success now?
Yeah, I would say God, but that's a little cliche.
Divine inspiration.
Yeah.
I know, but sometimes when you start something, you don't know where you're going, and all of a sudden you get there, right?
Yeah, I would say God, but I want to give people something a little, I don't know.
The entrepreneur.
If you don't believe in God and stuff like that, I don't want to discourage you, but
discourage them.
Yeah. Oh, I do discourage them. All right. Well, I say God really is the number one thing because, divine
inspiration,
connections, doors opening, being at the right place at the right time, stuff you couldn't have controlled. We would have
never connected.
Yeah, stuff we would have never controlled. I didn't even want to get that space.
Yeah.
I was felt forced to because we did a project with someone and they charged us, I won't say the number, but they charged us 60% of the project up front because we had no experience. Right. They couldn't get a good business credit report on us. And so it pissed me off. I was like, why would you charge me that much? Mm-hmm. It really upset me. And so I'm like, okay, well, we're going to have to get our own space.
Right.
And so then that was a freaking process. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if you do commercial real estate too. We might need to look at another space too. So we should talk about that. But that really ticked me off. But then ended up, a bunch of stuff happened. And in July of last year, we found that space we were in.
Yeah.
Finally signed off on it. Well, then I end up meeting the guy next door who ends up helping us because a bunch of stuff's breaking. I had trouble.
Guy?
Yeah. I had trouble breathing in the space because of my allergies and stuff.
Right.
Come to find out, we needed to put some fresh air. It was just still all types of stuff. And you wonder, like, am I even doing the right thing?
Right.
Like, am I an idiot? Does God even love me? Like, give me some direction here.
You're talking because I feel that way a lot of times. I'm like, am I doing everything I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah. But then it took a year later.
Yeah.
We were able to meet their payment every month. I'm meeting cool people.
Yeah.
That could potentially.
Cool? I think he wasn't pointing to you, Justin.
I was talking about Justin.
Oh, okay. Sorry. The hats. Got the hats.
Yeah. Sorry. Right. But so it's like you can't plan these things. You can't. I love strategic planning.
Yeah.
I think planning is important.
Yep.
I think executing is important. But once you do everything you can do,
Yeah.
You got to lean on God to do the rest.
I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, and the consulting part, and we who did we interview?
Jeff Miller, who's a business coach.
Yeah, he's a business coach, but it's important because you've got experiences that other people don't have. And I do too. I have experiences that other people don't have. So it's like, do you really want to have to go through those things, or do you want somebody to show you, how to get around those things? And what he said,
partner up, right? You partner up with people that are better than yourselves to help the business, right?
Yeah. So you can avoid a lot of red tape with the consultant, with the coach, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
Or reading, those three things are super important, so you don't have to experience it in real time.
I did notice, though, a lot of times small business owners don't take the time to read books from past owners that are writing some books that are like, there are certain books, even in real estate, by the way, that are probably a roadmap to how to be successful in real estate. Like, it's all right there. It's the wheel. And people, after 4 or 5 years, I say something to them about that book, and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't even know how you're still around. That book told you everything.
Everything, yeah. Well, see, look, like Shoe Dog is a book I'm reading now. Okay. It's about Phil Knight and Nike.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been super encouraging to me over the last I've been reading it probably for a week and a half now. And Audible. I'm not like physically reading it, I'm listening to it.
I'm Audible all day.
So it still counts.
Yeah.
Still counts.
And
not
so,
to real readers.
Not to real readers. Sorry to the real literary, whatever.
Giants there, yes.
But it's been super exciting because this guy was struggling too.
Yeah.
And he was working a job too for a good part of the beginning.
Yeah.
And everything was sucking and shipments were coming in late. And he was growing like crazy. But when you're growing like crazy, you don't have money because you got to put all the money back in to meet the next order.
Right? Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this is so encouraging because everything we're going through, it's not abnormal.
Yeah.
This is what it takes sometimes.
Yeah, and people tell you like, oh, you're doing so well, and you're like, I haven't seen a dime.
Right. Everything is going back and actually need to raise more money to try to keep up.
Right.
And so it's like,
keep the lights on, keep the employees. Yeah.
But that's encouraging to know, you're not the only one who's gone through this. And sometimes a book, to your point, can be a guide if you can't find somebody.
No, it's true.
Last piece of advice that you would want to give to people starting a business, or wanting to get their products in stores or whatever they may want to do in the entrepreneurial
and even
field.
offering your consulting if you want to just kind of put it out there about your consulting.
Yeah. I like to tell people that they need to do the basics. I got to figure out what my tagline is on that because I'm gonna need Justin to help me. But the basics are basically. And this is the way I'd sum it up, and hopefully this resonates with some of the things we talked about. But one, I say on my do the basics. Let's see here.
Affirmations.
Well, I love affirmations, right? But there is a thing that I want to give you that's like very specific. So number one, this is what I say, and this is why I have a job. I pay yourself. Is number one.
Yep.
And so that helps me.
Don't do stuff for free.
Well, I'm just saying, like, figure out a way to write yourself into it too. Yeah. Like you've got to take 10% of everything that comes in and put it away somewhere. Yeah. And that's at least yours to know that, and I can't always do that with the business, but with the job, I can do that. I invest in like 401k and do stuff like that to know that, okay, if all this stuff breaks down, which it feels like it's going to almost every other day, then I've done something for myself. And then I say own something, and I think that's like buying a house. That has helped
Rentals.
That's helped me invest in the business. Like, leverage the house to like get a loan. Hey, I've got this house. Can you loan me some money or line of credit? Right. So owning something has helped me. 3, I say start something. So like start a business, and I say leave something. So you got to have insurance. And then this is probably the most important thing, which is what we were just talking about. Number 5 is get help. Yeah. Like find someone, partner up with people who can. There were certain things I just haven't been able to do on my own in the business, but because I've had a business partner or I've had somebody, I'm working a job, so I physically can't be there to load skids on a truck and so it costs a lot, and sometimes I still need to do more work about the cost benefit analysis, but I just think people need nothing. What did they say? Nothing significant was done alone.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So I'm all about let's help. Let's figure out a way to split the pie.
Yeah.
I don't have to have the whole pie.
Right.
I'm not that, arrogant.
Well, and that pie usually gets bigger if you have the right people in place. And I think sometimes that's the problem is I've had some situations where I've had some people that I really liked and I wanted to work with them, but they weren't dedicated to exactly what I was doing too. And so you got to make sure, again, divine inspiration, I totally agree with, but trusted partners are hard to find. So when you have them, you hold on to them. And to your point, that pie gets bigger and bigger as long as everybody's invested.
Yeah. And maybe you need to find people that don't depend on you for everything. So like you're your own business. You're your own business. You guys have other things going on. So that way I know if we do something, you're not just going to be totally dependent on me to come through, and I'm not totally like people that can stand on their own 2 feet. To me, have been better partners in general. But then
and critical thinking. Critical thinking. Critical thinking. When you're talking about standing on your own 2 feet, that seems to be a skill that's not being connected. That has not being taught. That should be in your school program because people just don't seem to understand common sense and like. You don't need me to tell you how to use common sense and you know
solve it.
Right. If something needs power, plug it in.
Yeah.
Right.
Plug it in. Don't wait for that.
So, how can people get a hold of you? Obviously, you're offering the consulting. They're gonna see this. How can they get a hold of you and
tens of thousands of people are gonna see this.
Yeah. So Stephen Motivate. You can get me on all social media. Instagram.com. Stephen Motivate, youtube.com /@Stephen Motivate. That's STEPHEN MOTIVATE because I always try to do affirmations, keep people motivated. And then the consulting business is StephenAConsulting.com. We didn't get to the cars, but if you want a car share, Turo, I'm on Turo. I have a profile on there. If you go to my Instagram, you can message me and we can send you my Turo profile if you're in the Charlotte area and you need to rent a car for family vacation.
He's gonna let me to take one of the Panameras for my birthday this year.
So all types of ways you can get it.
We'll make sure you get the pictures of it.
And all his links will be down in the description, so go ahead and click on that and connect with him. I'm excited, man. This was a great interview. I think I learned a lot from it.
Awesome.
I'm gonna utilize some of that in my business.
I told you I liked you.
I like you too.
Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm Justin.
I'm Pam Fender.
Stephen,
peace.
and we're out.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good stuff.
Appreciate it.
No problem.